The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Pop in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast coming to you March 7th, 2024. This is podcast number 2 of the day, a double pod Thursday. And of course, we're joined here by the host of Drive Time Sports on KOAL 107.3 in Price, Utah. Also, good friend of the podcast, Jordan Buscarini, here with us to talk a little shop. What's up, buddy?
Appreciate the invite. Always look forward to joining you.
I know. I was telling you earlier that, you look like 18, but you act like you're 80.
That's so true. That's so true.
It's funny, though. I can't talk, though. I'm kind of the same way, too, though. I like to be my lonesome. We're discussing, like, do we watch fights by ourselves or with people? I'm like, no, I'm more of a loner guy, and you are, too.
We've had this conversation for a long time. Music taste,
yes,
sports taste, broadcasting taste, everything.
Yeah.
I was born like 3 decades too late.
Yeah, I feel bad for you though, man. You're like, because you're a big Elvis guy. By the way, I'm gonna ask you a question about that. The Priscilla movie, I'm gonna watch it this weekend. Worth watching?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No.
Is it a protest?
No, I've seen the story. I've heard the story. I've seen the story. I've seen the rebuttals. I don't need to see it again.
It's on Max, so it popped up a couple times. Like,
it's the ultimate cash grab, EJ.
Oh, I imagine so.
It's the ultimate cash grab. I don't need to see it.
Okay.
Let me throw this out there. Tell me how funny this is. Right?
Go ahead.
Story about the empowerment of a woman is only relevant because of the man in the story. I don't need to see it.
That's true. Like, what has Priscilla Presley actually done outside of her relationship with Elvis?
Nothing.
I don't. What is she known for, really? I mean, it's not even a knock on her.
No.
You make a good point, though.
I love Priscilla. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's done tremendous things for Elvis Presley Enterprises. Graceland's not what it is today. Graceland's not even there if it's not for Priscilla today, right? So, no, I respect Priscilla an awful lot. Yeah. I just don't really. I don't like the hey, don't forget about me type deal. And that's what it is off of the success of Baz's Elvis movie, which was fantastic, by the way.
Did she did she okay the movie though?
Yeah, she did.
Oh, okay. So it's done with her permission.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
Against Lisa's wishes, though.
Ooh.
Priscilla was done. This movie was done against Lisa's wishes. Before she passed away, she got a hold of the script. And you can find it online. The email that she wrote to the director, everything about it. It's to me, it's nah. I don't need to see it. I'm good.
Okay. I mean, I'm probably still gonna watch it. It's out of curiosity.
Mm-hmm, sure.
But yeah. I was just curious if the stuff is truthful in there. But
I'm sure there's some truth to it.
Okay.
I'm sure there is.
Did it ever get out why Lisa did not want nothing to do with it?
She said that it didn't. I'm trying to remember the correct wording, so I'm going to paraphrase here. She said it didn't capture the characteristics of her father at all, is basically what she was saying.
Okay. Well, she's daddy's girl, so I get it.
Yeah, of course.
So
I got one of those.
You're a girl dad, man. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's talk a little NBA real quick. We're gonna go across the horn here, not just NBA, but definitely a lot of NBA talk here. Tonight is what we probably look at as a possible or in some cases likely finals preview. Nuggets and Celtics.
Yeah.
Tonight on TNT. I want to focus on Boston. I think you and I feel good about Denver, no matter what seeding they're going to be when it's all said and done. You know, they're right now between OKC, Minnesota themselves, and the Clippers trying to find out position for seeding. But I think we both feel like Denver is still the cream of the crop when West when it's all said and done. I think the bigger story tonight, though, is Boston. And look, they've been the best team in the league from the start of the season to where we're at presently right now. And, you know, they beat Golden State by 52, I think it was on Sunday. And granted, they blew a big lead against Cleveland on Tuesday. Whatever, that's what it is. To me, everything they're doing right now at this point, it's been great. It's fine. But we have seen this with them before, time and time again, throughout the last, 5-6 years. To me, anything less at this point, and I know you and I are both massive Boston haters, so I'm not coming from that route. Anything less than at the very least, a finals berth is a massive disappointment for the Celtics. Are you there too also?
Oh, yeah. To me, they're the best team in the NBA.
Yeah.
They're the best team in the NBA, best roster in the NBA. I think there were questions regarding Boston going into the season because I get that they have the best roster front to back, but when you lose a guy like a Marcus Smart, you have dog. Like, you need that. Yeah. It sounds so cliche. There are certain cliches that I hate in sports talk radio.
I hate heat culture. I know that for that.
I hate the heat culture stuff. I hate that. I hate that.
It's kind of annoying too, to be honest with you. I play Twitter because of the fan thing, but it is a little bit annoying.
Well, I feel the same way about the Cardinal way in baseball. I feel the exact same way about it. Cardinal way in baseball.
Right. The
Patriot way in football. I get you got organizations that are ran correctly. Your Heat are ran correctly.
Yeah.
Right. Is it a culture thing? I have a hard time believing it's a culture thing.
I think the fact they branded that way too, especially, is annoying. That's it. I think that's the annoying part. It's branded Patriot Way. You know, that kind of. Yeah, I get it.
That's what Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect. So when you're watching college football and you talk about someone having moxie, I hate that word. It drives me absolutely nuts. But it's the same thing. There's truth to it. There's truth to it, right? It's cliche, but there's truth to it. Look, they perform well, and then they have instances where they get blown out or they blow a 22-point lead. And, to any Celtic fan that is worried about a 22-point lead being blown, double-digit leads are blown in the NBA on a nightly basis now. It does not matter anymore, right? The way the game is played. To me, this is the best team in the NBA. And I think if they don't come out of the Eastern Conference, yes, it is a huge, huge letdown. I think right now, if I had to pick, EJ, I think I would pick Boston to win the NBA championship. I think it's going to be very difficult for someone to beat them 4 times.
I agree, but that's also the assumption you're getting Porzingis healthy at that time in June.
Correct.
And Jrue Holiday, of course, healthy. Well, he should be healthy, but like I said, that's been one of the massive issues with Porzingis not being able to stay healthy. But Boston has those moments once in a while where they just kind of, the Cavs game on Tuesday, for example.
Yeah.
They just left the gas. And Tatum, he's a little bit frustrating for me sometimes because he's a phenomenal player. He's probably a top 5 player, I guess. I don't know if he's on the 5 your list, but I always said that he's just missing something. There's something missing. Like, he's a big Kobe guy, but he doesn't have the Kobe Mamba mentality, kind of like go for the throat thing that I think separates him from being the best player versus one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, when you talk about having the attitude that Kobe had, I mean, the only guy in the NBA, and I may take a lot of flack for this, the only guy in the NBA that has that quote Mamba mentality, and maybe it's gone away over the last little while. I always think Russell Westbrook had that.
Correct.
But he never played in control, and now I see
that's a difference.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So maybe if you could mesh Tatum with Westbrook, you would have that. I can't hold that against Tatum because I can think of a handful of guys that have ever had that killer mentality to that.
Right.
Like, I can't hold that against him. But, I think you go back to the NBA Finals a couple of seasons ago against Golden State, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had a chance to rid that sort of title, and he didn't do it.
Right, yeah, and that's the thing. And then you see that in certain games in the playoffs. And last year against Miami, I know he got hurt Game 7 against Miami after coming from that 0-3 deficit. But again, it's one of those things. I think that's the thing that holds back Boston from being a championship team is that level. Like, they have all the pieces, and quite frankly, they've always had all the pieces for the most part to win it all. It's just that I feel like Tatum's ascent is there's still another level to go to, and I think he's not there yet. And I'm waiting to see if this is the year we finally see it.
I think we do. I think it's the best team in the league. I think that you can find flaws everywhere you look around. We're going to be talking about some of these guys here in just a moment. I think right now, we're going to get into the MVP race, and the guy that's at the top of the ladder is playing tonight's game.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's him?
Jokic?
Well,
he's the MVP. Come on. There's one other guy, EJ, I could put in that category. Just one other guy. To me, it's a very short list. One or two right now.
Yeah, is it SGA?
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. That's my list.
That's it.
List done. I'm with you. I have SGA as a slight favorite, though, because what the Thunder has done this year in that Western Conference, and they have far exceeded my expectations for throughout the year. The fact they're winning a lot of games on top of that, too, to me is like, wow, he's this great, and they're winning, too, on top of that. There's an extra layer to that. So that's why I give SGA a slight edge on Jokic. Maybe it's just the fact that we've seen this with Jokic so much now. It doesn't feel special anymore.
It's fatigue. It's fatigue.
And I hate that because I don't believe in that shit. I believe you judge the 82 games based on the 82 games. And that is it.
They've never done that, though. They
haven't. And I don't want to fall into that of like, oh, I'm tired of Jokic, because I'm not. I'm watching that game with the Lakers on Saturday. I'm like, I told my wife, like, he's just fucking amazing.
He's incredible.
He's just fucking amazing.
He's incredible.
So but that's my list, though. Like, if
I agree,
there is no really. I mean, if you want to get a third guy, I guess Tatum's the third guy. By default.
If I had to pick a third guy, I'd probably go Luka. If I had to pick,
Luka's in the top five. If Dallas could sustain winning, I can see that.
But it's irrelevant, and I also don't believe that the MVP award. The MVP award doesn't necessarily have to go to the best player on the best team. That's another fallacy with the MVP award that we've had for decades in the NBA. Right. You got to look at the most valuable player to that team. Now, any of the five guys that you would mention in your top five, if you remove them from the equation, their team's not a top three team in whatever conference it is, right?
Well, Joel Embiid is a perfect example of that.
Exactly. But I still think, look, if you take Jokic out of Denver, you take SGA out of OKC, I mean, they're floundering teams. I truly believe that. I think you do as well, right?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's neck and neck. I think you and I agree on that one. It's
1 and 2.
It's a two-man race. That we agree with. It's a two-man race between those two guys.
But I can't hold Dallas's record against Luka because Luka has been phenomenal.
He has been phenomenal. He's an amazing player.
Yeah.
Another guy I would consider really is Jalen Brunson in New York.
I like that. You always have to put a guy in the conversation that has no chance of winning, but it's a good story, right? You want to make sure he gets
narratives. We're big on narratives in sports media. Come on now, we know how it is.
Every year there's one.
Yeah, but Embiid was my runaway before he got hurt.
Yeah, I think the last time we talked, you and I both had Embiid at the top of the list, right?
But again, the rule, which we'll get to right here in a second, the 65 game rule of to qualify for awards. Of course, he's not going to hit that this year because he's been out too long. How do you feel about that rule in general?
Well, you got to do something in the NBA. You got to do something. And again, I can relate this, and I don't want to give a segue just yet, but we can relate this to what's happening with LeBron and 40K. Okay.
Right.
So I'm telling you, we're never going to see that again. The reason we're never going to see that again.
See 40K again?
We'll never see that again. Nobody's ever going to score 40,000 points ever again in our lifetime. We will never see it again. They don't play enough games anymore.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And we'll talk about LBJ here in a minute, but the fact of the matter is when you've got to give these guys some sort of incentive, I guess, to play every night, because apparently it's a problem. I was looking at statistics last night. This is funny to me. It was on your post. Your post led me to go dig up some statistics. Okay. And the question was, does LeBron deserve a statue at Staples? Okay. So I started looking at Laker legends. Well, Wilt Chamberlain does not have a statue out of Staples, but Wilt only played 5 years in LA. He played 4 seasons. He played 81 or more games, 4 out of those 5 years, EJ. Wilt Chamberlain did that 4 times in 5 years.
That's forgotten, too. No one talks about that at all.
Nobody talks about it anymore. And I think when we see a guy play 65, 70 games, we look at that as being stable. I was talking to Jazz fans here in the state of Utah. They can rest their hat on 3 records that will never be broken. For one, John Stockton's durability over the course of his career. He missed 22 games.
That's insane.
It's insane to think about, right?
Yeah.
No one's ever going to break the assist record. No one's ever going to break the steals record. they have that to hold on to. And I think a lot of the reason why these records will never be broken is because, for one, longevity is completely different then than it is now. That's why LeBron is so unique. And two, they don't play enough games. And when we do see these guys play defense in the NBA, it's atrocious. I'm a firm believer, and you tell me if I'm wrong here.
Okay.
You take a team. If you gave 80% effort defensively for 60 of the 82 games, you're a 500 team.
I agree with that.
That's terrible. That's terrible that we can agree on that, right?
Yeah.
It's so when you have Adam Silver putting these little nuggets in, okay, you got to play 65 games. It's all in an attempt to build up some sort of competitiveness and to keep stars out on the floor, where you have to worry about buying a ticket, paying a couple of $100, and the best players aren't playing because it's the second night of a back-to-back. So I get why this type of stuff is put in. I get why that rule's put in.
And I agree. And for the record, I agree with it.
I do too. I do too.
Now, do we agree? Is 65 games the tier it should be at? That we can have a conversation about. Okay, is 65 games too much games, or is it too little? Is it too lenient? I think I can be okay with 60.
65 gives you 17 games off. Think about
it.
Think about that. It gives you 17 games off. I like the number. I really do. 22. That's a fourth of the season, man.
Yeah, I know. But I'm also trying to be realistic too. Also, when it comes to injuries and stuff too as well. You can easily miss a stretch 15 games alone just on an injury, and come back and then turn it around. I'm not a stickler about I don't hate the rule. I think the rule is fair, and I think availability should matter. I think a lot of these players too, especially they've lost a lot of the self-awareness that I'm a paying customer taking my wife and 2 kids to the game, and to go to a Heat game in Miami was an hour and a half from my house right now, number one, and the traffic is bad to get down there on top of that. And I got paid $200 plus just to enter your fucking building, not including getting food. My kid's going to want Papa John's, of course, because Papa John's sponsors the Heat, So I don't know, $30 for him alone for food, because pizzas cost $15 for a small one.
Yeah.
So self-awareness is lacking with these athletes today. And I feel like the only way they're gonna is the same thing with the All-Star game. Not taking this seriously. I'm not saying you have to be balls to the wall, seriously the All-Star game, but show some effort, dude. Show some effort.
Oh yeah.
It's so I haven't watched it. The last time I watched an All-Star game, honestly, was the last time the game that Kobe blocked LeBron at the end of the game. Was it 2012, 2013? That's what I watched.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I have not sat and watched an All-Star game front to back since Kobe left.
Yeah.
I have not done it. I've watched them. I've gotten up, walked around, but back in the day, I mean, in the 90s, you had to watch the All-Star game.
Dude, I remember watching my favorite game of all time to this day is still the 92 game with Magic.
Yes.
I watched it. Yes. I watched it in real time.
Yeah.
I watched it in real time. And to me, even though it was still loosey-goosey, but it was still, but it was competitive though.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't get that anymore. You have these guys shooting left-handed shots and half-court shots and then blaming Steph Curry for this and that. Look, I'm sure Steph Curry, shooting from half court is not really helpful, but to sit and blame other players for that, no, you can take it seriously if you want to take it seriously. And I get because the injuries and all that, but I think that's an excuse. And I say that as someone that absolutely adores the NBA, who is protective of the NBA, that wants it to do better. This is why I'm critical of these things.
You know why the injury excuse is a cop-out, and it's an excuse?
Yeah, some way.
It's on record that these guys play more intense games in the off season and pick up basketball with one another than they do in the All-Star game. Okay. So are we going to say, well, you can't get hurt in the All-Star game? Look, we have no idea the level and the intensity that these guys are playing with in the off season. But from what we hear, it's pretty intense. And we're talking about basketball in July and August.
Right.
Right. You can put on and I don't know, is the Paul George injury in the trials, remember that? The Olympic trials in Vegas. You remember that? Gosh, it would have been
we broke his leg, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2014. 2014. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe that I don't know. That was a big deal. That was a big topic.
But that's also a freak injury too, though. That injury's a freak injury.
Yes, that's where I was getting at. Yes, it's a freak injury. Correct.
Right. That's breaking a leg versus getting a sprained ankle or a nip here and there. It's a night and day.
It's an excuse.
It's damn right, it's an excuse. So, yeah, I like the rule. And unfortunately, Embiid having a great year, but he can't be involved. So I ask you this then: another race I won't talk about here, Rookie of the Year, because I was under the impression that when I had Scoot Henderson as my winner before the year started when I did my predictions, because I thought that Popovich would not play Wemby, the amount of games possible to get to the threshold, but he is in the race. He is in the conversation. He has played the games. But that being said, who is Rookie of the Year right now?
It's Wemby, but I think Holmgren's right behind him.
Yeah.
He's right behind him. He's nipping on his heels because, again, you got to use the same logic, right? So if we're going to look at SGA and we're going to say, okay, the reason why he's right in the mix with Jokic is because they're winning games. He's been so effective and they're winning games. Well, San Antonio's got, 13 wins? We got 13.
About
13, 14 wins. So,
yeah.
Okay, you look at San Antonio and the way that they produce. Let's look at Chet and we look at OKC. Yeah, we can give SGA a lot of credit, but look, they're not right there neck and neck for the top seed in the Western Conference without Holmgren.
And Chet is really good. The way this is, I mean, technically this is his rookie year. And I watch him because, by the way, OKC is my favorite team to watch on League Pass. I watch Chet. He looks like a veteran. Just the way he plays like a veteran. His attitude's like a veteran. He talks shit. Everybody, it doesn't matter. His whole ambiance is that as though he's been in the league of 5-6 years already.
Yeah, well, he's been in the league too. I think,
right, but still, yeah.
I think there's something to be said. Now I think the better question is here: should he be considered for Rookie of the Year? Because I get that.
Oh yeah,
everything that went down, but there's a level of maturity that comes with just being around the league, being on the bench, being at practice, being around the team for a year. There's a level of maturity that comes along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Jalen Williams has been phenomenal. We talked about SGA. We're talking about Chet. Oklahoma City, I agree with you. One of the best teams to watch in the League Pass. But he is neck and neck with Wemby in nearly every single category, right? Like, it's impressive. He's been very, very good. And I'm not saying Wemby hasn't, right? Like, some people would view this as a knock. It's not a knock. We're talking about two of the best rookies right now in the NBA.
Right.
I think Wemby's slightly ahead of Chet. I think it's close, but I think he's slightly ahead.
Yeah, I think the difference between Wemby and Chet really at this point is Wemby's has been special individually. That's it.
Yep.
But even then, it's a neck and neck. And when bringing win shares as a part of the argument, sure Chet has something to say about that. But if you ask to go to my head, it's still Wemby. Wemby has separated himself a little bit now since, like I thought he maybe had fallen off as the year progressed. He hasn't done that. He's gotten better, actually, to be honest with you, as the year progressed.
You know what I love about this? I don't think these two like each other.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. I've missed it. I've missed it in the NBA. That the fraternity era. I'm not a fan of the fraternity era, man. I'm not
either. Not either.
So yeah, I like the fact that these two they seem to.
There's real heat. There's real heat, as I say in wrestling. A wrestling term there. No, I'm with you on that one. I think Wemby is a slight edge, and I'll say my number 3 on my list though is my boy in Miami, Jaime Jaquez.
Oh my gosh, what a steal! What a steal! The fact that the Lakers allowed Miami to select a UCLA kid right after them. Yeah, that one stings a little bit. The Lakers,
he's good.
He is good. He is good. The Lakers have been lights out in the draft, but they missed on a UCLA boy.
Yeah, that's yeah.
You know what it is? It's heat culture. That's what it is.
See, that term again. You hate it. I know you hate it, but it is what it is. Speaking of OKC, I want to stay with that real quick. So, I had an opinion on my YouTube page. I put a little 1 minute video about this. This is after the loss to LA on Monday. And I swear to you, and I said it on the video, I swear to you, I wasn't reacting to the game itself, but this is something I've had in my head for a couple of weeks now. As good as they've been this year, and believe me, they've been fantastic this year. Right now, the number 1 in the West right now, currently Minnesota. I still think that if these two teams play in the playoffs, first round, second round, maybe OKC Lakers first matchup, I'm still leaning Lakers in 6 or 7 games.
Sure.
Because I feel like OKC's inexperience, because then you see it in moments in some of these games. And granted, they've beaten Denver a couple times this year too, and that's some big wins this year. But I feel like OKC's inexperience could poke its head out at the most inopportune time.
It's a process, right? There's a process to it. And as the Lakers proved last year, you just go back and you look at the post. They weren't concerned about it. They weren't concerned about their seeding. They go through Memphis. They go through Golden State. They run into the juggernaut, the buzzsaw, and the Nuggets. But we're talking about a team that was in the play-in round that eked their way all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Seeding is not important for the Lakers. It's not. What's important for the Lakers is LeBron and Anthony Davis healthy. That's what's important.
Yeah.
And Taurean Prince on the bench. Keep that guy off the floor. Good Lord. That's what's key right now to the Lakers. And so, to me, you can almost make the comparison to Memphis last year in a sense. It's eerily similar.
Yes.
It's eerily similar. And
I agree with you.
Yeah, we know how that worked out, right?
Yep. I mean, I do think that the Adams injury definitely hurt Memphis last year.
It did.
But still. I mean, the Lakers, and I just think like with when you have LeBron that can control the pace of the game, you're not, as I said before, it's not like you're playing the Lakers on a random Tuesday night at crypto.com. This is now a 7-game series where you can adjust and adjust and adjust and adjust. And that's where experience comes into play. And I feel like until I see the Thunder actually do it in the playoffs, actually win a series as a unit, I'm still thinking the Lakers can still, their ceiling to me is still the conference finals at least. And honestly, I feel that way really for all the teams, because what you're seeing in the West right now is a lot of these young upstarts now. The Kings, obviously, this year number 2, this upstart, and they're still maintaining that. Obviously, the Thunder have been great this year. The Minnesota story has been really good. And you want to believe in those teams as actual contenders of titles, but yet you have these moments where you see a Phoenix pop there once in a while. And look, I have a lot of questions about Phoenix going forward, but that game against Denver was a big win. You still have the Clippers who are hanging around there. If they're healthy, they're going to be a problem. And of course, Denver is Denver. So to me, as much as I want to believe in those young teams, gotta see it, man. And to me, I'm always going to hold on to the try and true of the old guard until I'm proven otherwise.
Oh,
that's where my head's at right now in the NBA.
Well, we saw. Speaking of Oklahoma City, we saw this once before, right? Let's go back to the Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook era. We knew they were coming when they took the 2010 Lakers to Game 6. We knew they were coming, right?
And almost Game 7. Remember the tap in by Powell?
Yeah, Powell had the tip in at the end.
Yep.
We knew they were coming. There was a process to it. At that point in time, you said, okay, they got the experience needed. What happened over the next 2 years? Well, they took the Lakers out of the playoffs. They won the Western Conference. And so, there is a process to it. It's a real thing. And Denver had been through that process, man. Denver had gone through that. And I think that gets overlooked too. They had been through that process. Memphis hadn't been through that. OKC hasn't been through it. No, you're right. I agree with you.
So I'll ask you guys, because I know I asked you this when we were on the show back in January. We agreed Denver number 1 in the West, no matter how the season plays out. Who is the other team in the West you believe is going to play them in the conference finals for the right to go to the finals? One
of the 2 LA teams. The Clippers. I think the Clippers are a better team. The Lakers got the Clippers. What was it last week?
Last Wednesday. Yeah.
There was no Paul George.
Great game.
It was a great game. No Paul George.
Yeah.
That matters. To me, I could see the Lakers going on a similar run. Is what they did last year. I can see that. I think they are playing better basketball.
They are.
D'Lo's playing better basketball.
D'Lo's playing phenomenal. D'Lo's playing phenomenal. Austin Reeves playing much better too. Also.
Yeah. But the Clippers are deep, man. That's a good team. That's a good team. And it's not fair to really discredit Minnesota, but I just don't know how that brand of basketball is going to translate to the postseason. That's my problem with.
And then now we have the report about Karl-Anthony Towns got knee contusion.
Correct. Yeah. So to me, it's going to be Denver, and Phoenix to me just doesn't play enough defense. There's question marks there.
They're too top heavy too. Also, they're not deep enough for me.
Very top heavy. Yeah. So I'm going to say Denver and one of the 2 LA teams.
Okay, I'm with you on that one. I'm going to go Clippers definitely on that for the time being. But Lakers are right there. I just think the Lakers, if you give them the right series with the right team, they can find a way to gut out the series one by one. So
I lean to the Clippers as well. I lean to the Clippers.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So.
But we also have to see the way this pans out, right? So if the Clippers are the 4 seed, Well, the Nuggets aren't going to get the Clippers. You just don't know. Or are we looking at the first round, second round matchup? Is it plausible?
This is where matchups become an issue too, and I think even the play-in situation, we're about to have the greatest play-in history of the play-in. Now, granted, it's only 4 years, but look at the West play-in right now. It's what 7, 8, 9, 10, and what currently? You have the Mavericks in there currently. It changes every day because like
so neck and neck. So we're looking at the Warriors and the Lakers because the 10 teams in the West are set. The Jazz or the 11,
yes.
We're not getting in. The 10 teams are set. We know which 10 teams are going to be involved in the playoffs.
Kings 7, Mavs 8, Warriors 9, the Lakers 10. Right now, it's 7 through 10 in the Western Conference and now play-in situation. Right there, easily the greatest play-in in the history of. It's insane.
Hands down, yeah.
And the Warriors on fire now. They're playing good basketball too.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know.
A 52-point drubbing at the hands of the Celtics, but other than that, yeah.
That aside, but then they came back and beat Milwaukee by 35 last night. So, I know when we did this podcast in January, we were, throwing shovel on the Warriors and that whole dynasty. But look, I don't think they're going to win a title this year, but I'm seeing some good things here the last couple weeks here. Kuminga's now showing up. Draymond Green is playing well. Steph is being Steph. Benching Clay was the best thing they could have done because Clay's played better now off the bench and is energized that starting lineup too. Also, and
you're gonna have a healthy CP3 coming off the bench as well, right?
You look at last night too, especially.
So,
was it a little premature to bury the Warriors just yet?
Bury in what sense? Like, are we saying
okay? If the Warriors are in the Western Conference Championship game series this year, will that surprise you?
No,
it wouldn't surprise you.
If they're not in the Western,
if they are in the
that
will shock you.
Yeah, I would surprise.
Okay,
that would surprise me.
I'm there too. I still think that there's too much question marks there with that team.
Yeah,
lack of size for starters. Let's start there. Lack of size and. Enter Minnesota, enter Denver, enter even OKC with Chet. So yeah,
well, they're. I mean, if they're stuck in the playing round with the Lakers, they're not better than the Lakers. Could I see them getting past Sacramento? Sure. Could I see them getting past Dallas? I don't know. As you mentioned,
Dallas is weird.
That playing round's wild, man.
Dallas is weird too because like 2 weeks ago, I sat there and said like Dallas is a sneaky Western Conference team, and then they lose 4 games in a row. Like, I just jinxed them. So I don't know. This is gonna be a wild. And by the way, no one's talking about them, but New Orleans is actually holding firm here. Zion's healthy, actually.
Yeah.
Holy shit, Zion's actually healthy, ish.
As healthy as he's going to be.
Right. So. Oh no. One more NBA thing I want to touch on. LeBron at 40K. How big a deal is it?
Huge. It's huge. And I don't know that we have necessarily given it the credit it deserves. And I think a lot of that has to do because last year he got his flowers for breaking the all-time scoring mark.
Right.
We thought for a very, very long time, right? That was untouchable. Nobody can break Kareem's whatever it was. What was it? 38. Was it 38? Yeah. Whatever it was. Nobody's going to ever touch that. LeBron does. I'm telling you right now, we will never see this again in our lifetime. Nobody's ever going to score.
Really?
For mine and the remainder of our lives, nobody is ever going to score 40. It's never going to happen again.
Who would you say though has the best shot of eclipsing that number?
Luka.
Right, Luka's one. I agree with you on Luka. KD just crossed 30K recently, right?
KD's 35 years old.
Right. But KD's still scoring free. I mean, he's still scoring in the clip, but injuries too also. He can still get hurt again.
Yeah, it's not going to happen at his
right.
age. Yeah, so I was looking at this. And so let's think of two other players in NBA history that could have scored 40K. Okay, and I was looking at this from a non-bias.
Kobe, definitely.
Kobe was one, MJ was the other. Okay, the reason I bring up those two, and this is what plays into what LeBron is doing, is so fascinating. How many years did Michael Jordan take off during the course of his NBA career?
1.5 years for the first retirement.
Okay.
Then he got hurt. Remember, year 2, he got hurt with a foot injury. That didn't help his case. And then he had the other 2 years. Was it 2 years after Washington? So yeah, he would have eclipsed that with a bullet.
That's what I'm saying. But he took a year and a half off in the prime of his career. He took another 2 years off. So when people want to talk about game management, and that gets thrown around a lot, did we forget that MJ took like 4 seasons off?
Mm-hmm. And I threw in also the injury year too when he got hurt in year 2 with the foot injury.
Okay, so if you eliminate those 4 years, is MJ is he as effective at the end of his career when he's in Washington? We don't know the answer to that, but the answer is probably no.
Right.
You have to believe that prolonged his career, right? Allowed him to play at a higher level deeper into his career. You have to believe that.
Also, LeBron and even Jordan will even test this too. LeBron took better care of his body consistently in a way that MJ did not. MJ went out, drank a lot.
Yes,
he gambled a lot. Went out late. There's stories of MJ, being in casinos night before playoff games, which made him actually, to be honest, added to the whole allure of who he is, because he still fucking took your throw out even after all that, So
yeah, it's incredible. But again, I'm pointing out, just whatever you feel about MJ, that's factual. That he took basically 4 years off, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's factual. Okay, then we look at Kobe. All right, Kobe. He didn't. I believe his first points his rookie season came in like game 3 or 4 of that year. It was against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. It was at the foul line. So that's how he was used his rookie year. He was an 18-year-old kid. He did not have the impact that LeBron had immediately. He did not have that impact. Second year, Kobe was an all-star starter. Kobe was not a starter on the Lakers. He was not a starter.
Right.
So we take away those 2 years, okay? Then we look at the pace that Kobe was on from year 3. It led to an Achilles injury. It was bad luck. Whatever you want to contribute to is bad luck. Kobe was never the same after that.
Right.
We're talking about one of the hardest working, finely tuned athletes that we have seen in the NBA. Okay. We're never going to see this level of health and this level of longevity again out of any. I refuse to believe we're going to see someone. There's been some luck on LeBron's end. Let's be honest.
Of course there
Yeah.
is.
There's luck, but we're never going to see that much luck again in the form of health. You're never going to see LeBron. LeBron's a great God when you look at the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's too perfect of a scenario, EJ, for us to see this again.
Yeah.
Now, this is not a knock on Luka. Luka's not built like LeBron.
Nope.
Right. So
does he still smoke too? Also, Luka?
I have no idea.
I heard somebody they smoke cigarettes like regularly.
Maybe. But the other two guys. Kareem got everything he could out of his career.
20 years.
He got everything he could. Now, I know Kobe played 20 years as well, but technically he didn't.
Right.
Yeah. And it's the same. And again, it was an injury. I think Kobe was playing great basketball, by the way, before the Achilles injury. You remember that. He was playing.
Of course. Yeah.
He was playing great basketball. But it's the same conversation with MJ, right? I mean, this guy was the greatest that we've ever seen, right? And then I just believe he added years to his career by taking time off. And you brought up the way he takes care of his body. You're absolutely right. To me, it's a perfect storm. We'll never see it again. It should be applauded. To me, it's amazing. And the reason why we're not applauding it the way we should is because he broke the scoring record last year. I don't think people realize how rare it is. And by the time he's done, what's LeBron end up with? What's he going to hit? 42?
Maybe more, because he's still playing at a high level right now. He's still, dude, he is still a top 10 player in the league right now. That's the sick part.
Yeah, it's never going to happen again. It's never going to happen again.
It's sick. So, but yeah, it's such a great accomplishment, really. But I mean, I guess because of social media and it feels a little watered down now, because we've seen so many of these like accomplishments now that it's like, okay, another one. Okay, cool, we get it. He's great. We get it.
It's fatigue.
As you said.
Yep.
All right. So let's transition to the NFL talk. Free agency's next week, I believe. Lots of stuff going on already, though. A lot of narratives in free agency right now. I will say this move did shock me a little bit. Mike Evans staying with Tampa. Not because him staying with Tampa necessarily, but more so him not testing the market. I thought he had a phenomenal year this year for a Bucs team that we all thought was going to be the bottom of the barrel. They made the playoffs, won a playoff game, and he was phenomenal with Baker Mayfield. I thought maybe he would test the market and try to make it a bidding war, but 2-year deal. $52 million, $25 million guaranteed. Your thoughts on Mike Evans staying in Tampa?
Love it. Because to me, he's the greatest wide receiver in Tampa Bay Buccaneer history.
That's easy, yeah.
It's easy. Okay, so what's he had? 10 years,
Yeah, 10 years.
1,000-yard receiver in every one of those 10 seasons.
Mhm.
He's approaching Jerry Rice's record. Jerry did it 11 times, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so he's right on the heels of Jerry Rice. There are certain players that should not wear another team's uniform. That is a guy that should not wear another team's uniform. You know, being a Rams fan, the day Isaac Bruce left St. Louis was atrocious. How do you allow that to happen? And then you allow
where did he go again?
He went to San Francisco.
Of all teams, too. Of all teams.
Yes. How do you allow that to happen? You know what I mean? How does this happen? I go back to how did the Raiders allow Tim Brown to walk? You know, how do you allow this to happen? And I'm not saying that Mike Evans is comparable career-wise to what Tim Brown accomplished, whatever. But I'm saying in forms of meaning and what you mean to the franchise, he's on that level, man. He's had 10 1,000 consecutive receiving seasons. It's impressive.
He's a Hall of Famer, right? Obviously, right?
Yeah, for sure. You can't allow that guy to walk. So I love the fact that they both wanted to get the deal done. I love the fact they both got it done. You know who really loses here?
Who's that?
It's the Jets. That's who really loses here.
Why you say that?
Well, because who's the one receiver that has been floated around going to the Jets to get Aaron Rodgers some help, work opposite of Garrett Wilson for the last year? We've heard
Devontae Adams.
Tommy T says it ain't happening. Tommy Telesco says it's not happening. Okay. So now you shift your focus to Mike Evans. And I believe the Jets were going to make this guy a very lucrative offer. Now Mike Evans is off the table. So who do you go opposite of Garrett Wilson? You got to go all in for one season having Aaron Rodgers. And now you know you're not going to get Devontae and you're not going to get Mike Evans. I think the Jets are the big losers in this deal.
That's an interesting play there. That's an interesting scenario. I didn't think about that. The Jets, interesting. Okay. So reports say too, Russell Wilson, who will be released by the Broncos. Why is that funny? Why is that funny?
Yeah. So earlier on this week on my show, we had a conversation about the trade. Right? We talked about the Russell. It was like an hour-long conversation we had about this trade.
Is it the worst trade ever?
I don't think the trade's the worst ever. I think what amplifies the trade is the immediate extension he got, the $242 million.
Right.
That's what makes it so bad.
Right.
Because the first year under Nathaniel Hackett, it was a train wreck. Let's not forget this season. I think Russell Wilson played some pretty decent football, and EJ, there was a point in time they were a game back of the two-time defending Super Bowl champs. They were a game back within that division. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's not the worst trade in the history of the NFL. I do believe the Deshaun Watson deal probably goes down as the worst trade in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
There's been some bad ones, don't get me wrong, but to me, it's how the front office has handled this. And when I look at the Russell Wilson situation, this is Sean Payton riding into retirement, buying himself 2 more years because he was not part of the organization when the Broncos made this deal for Wilson.
Right.
It's also a copycat league. It became the sexy thing to do. Trade, go all in for a quarterback because the season before, remember who did it? Remember who won a Super Bowl, right? So now it's a copycat league, and we've seen this time and time again. I don't believe it was an awful trade for the Broncos. I believe the way the front office handled that trade and with the immediate contract restructuring, the extension, and the way they've handled Russell Wilson since, it's been awful. The front office cannot get out of their own way in Denver. So do I feel bad for Russell Wilson? I don't feel bad for Russell Wilson. I'll tell you who I really don't feel bad for, the Denver Bronco front office, because EJ, they suck.
They do.
They
sure
suck.
do. But why would they leave $85 million dead cap money though for a guy that was playing pretty decent yesterday? And for all intents and purposes, turn things around in comparison to his first year in Denver. Why would they?
It's Sean Payton.
It's ego.
It's Sean Payton. You cannot tell me there is nobody in the NFL. I'm not sitting here claiming that I could be an NFL GM. I know you're not claiming you could be an NFL GM. Mm-hmm. There's not an NFL GM in this world that could look anyone in the face and tell you that Jarrett Stidham gives you a better opportunity to win football games than Russell Wilson.
So then why would they do this then? Sean
Payton. He bought himself 2 more years. That's the only explanation.
Yeah,
can you think of another explanation here?
So basically what you're saying, it's a stupid move to do this.
Yeah, because you also have to, I just can't see. Well, throw a quarterback out. Who does Denver get to replace him? For the sake of this argument, throw a quarterback out. Who do they get to replace him?
That's actually viable?
Yeah. Realistic.
I mean, if you want to, you can't afford Justin Fields because of again, dead cat money there. Kirk Cousins and a short-term deal. But then again, it doesn't make any sense, though, because Kirk Cousins only has value to a team that's contending at this point.
Yeah, so just throw someone out. Even if it's a rookie. Even if I don't care. I don't care who it is. Just throw someone out. Who do they get?
Jimmy G. Fuck it. Jimmy G.
Okay. Are you going to tell me that Jimmy G is going to outplay Russell Wilson and the $85 million in dead cap?
Hell no.
That's what I'm saying. There's no logical explanation here for this. It's ego. It's Sean Payton. That's what this. He's going to ride this job into retirement, and he bought himself 2 more seasons in Denver.
Hopefully, Sean Payton fails. Best fit for us, though.
I don't even think Sean Payton should be coaching in the NFL.
Ooh, because of what happened to Bountygate?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
I never liked the guy, to be honest. I never liked. He's a phenomenal offensive mind. That dude is way overrated, in my opinion.
How many Super Bowl trips did he cost the Saints due to poor in-game management?
Mm-hmm. And how many 7-9 seasons he's had? We talk about Mike Tomlin and 1 Super Bowls and that. How many 7-9 seasons has Sean Payton had with Drew Brees, the quarterback?
Yeah, it's
like stop.
And then they come out with the B movie, put Kevin.
Oh yeah,
and Sean Payton,
Kevin James.
I can't think of a guy with a more distant personality than Sean Payton than Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Oh my God!
About that.
That being said, in Russ's case. Because I saw a report today that there is some interest between Russ and the Steelers, which I think is a good fit, football wise. What is best fit for Russell Wilson right now?
It's a good question because it makes sense in Pittsburgh, and I know that there was Justin Fields conversations being brought up. That's not Pittsburgh's MO, right? The idea of just going out and getting a quarterback and not giving up any assets, that seems to fall a little bit more in line with Pittsburgh, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a great fit for him. Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield's going to play a factor here. What if Baker doesn't go back to Tampa? Would Tampa be a good fit for him?
Possibly. I mean, Russ will have value to a team that just needs a quarterback to go over the hump.
Yeah,
and Pittsburgh is perfection there. I agree with you on Pittsburgh. That's definitely.
Let me ask you this question.
Go ahead.
Does Russell Wilson play over under 2 more teams the rest of his career?
Well, because I'm a Russell Wilson fan and I love the kid and love his values, I'm gonna take under and root for him.
One more team. Okay.
So you said the over under is 1.5 for 2 teams?
Yeah.
1.5. I mean, realistically speaking, it's gonna be over probably. He might get a backup job probably to end his career, if anything, if he has to play longer. But I'm gonna wish for the best. I'm gonna go under.
He played good football last year. I
agree with you. I did. Dude, it's on my YouTube page. There's a clip from like 3 months ago. And this is I think it was like week 8, week 9 of the year. And I put a clip on this from one of his episodes. Is Russell Wilson a top 10 quarterback again? I literally did this 4 months ago.
I don't know that he was top 10. But
there was an argument made. My boy Zach and I, we went through the list and we made an argument. And it's like, if he's not top 10, he's right there on the cusp. Because we're naming quarterbacks at that time of the year. Who's playing better? There weren't many.
Well, how do you play in must-win games?
I don't know, man. I think Sean Payton sort of sabotaged the situation, to be honest.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree.
That whole thing about him, like, trying to, bench him and all this shit. And when they're in the middle of a playoff race, like, get the hell out of here. I can't stand Sean Payton. I really can't.
I'm with you 100%.
I never liked him. I never liked him. Never liked him. And he coached the Giants for a couple of years. He was offensive coordinator. Imagine that. Speaking of quarterbacks, Justin Fields.
Yeah.
This is obviously, for me, the most interesting storyline in terms of offseason NFL is how the Bears decide to go what route they go in, because it's interesting. They're now presented with an opportunity to do something that no team ever gets. You have the number 1 pick in the draft while not being a terrible team last year, okay? And a quarterback right now who does have value somewhere. You could trade him somewhere. And I've been saying that as much as I want to see Fields see it through in Chicago, I just think where Chicago's as a franchise, I just think it's too tempting to not trade Fields and to reset, get Caleb Williams as a quarterback, and reset the market again economically. You have him on a rookie deal for another 4 years. I just think it's too tempting to not try that out. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I go back to the NFL being a copycat league. Remember when the Philadelphia Eagles won? They beat New England in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Okay. They had a starting quarterback on a rookie scale deal. It was Carson Wentz.
Yep.
And I know he didn't play in the Super Bowl, but when Carson Wentz went out, he was probably the front runner for MVP of the league.
He was the MVP.
Yeah. See. And you looked at the way that roster was constructed. And then I remember that conversation started popping up. Okay, so do you grab a quarterback on a rookie scale deal, build around him, supply him with all the weapons, and then move on, right? I think that's a relevant conversation. I think it's still a relevant conversation. The Bears are weird, though, and I'll tell you why. Because going back to the beginning of last season, I would have thought that Eberflus was a lame duck coach.
Right.
And he's not. They brought him back. Okay, now they've restructured some things. Eberflus will be married. I always use that term with coaches in the NFL. I always feel like coaches and their quarterbacks are married.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
So not only is he no longer a lame duck coach, but if you allow this guy to be a part of the selection to draft a quarterback number 1 overall, Matt Eberflus is in this seat for the next 4 to 5 years. He has to be. If he's not, you're going to have some major problems because, as you alluded to, you have the number 1 pick, but it's not a traditional number 1 pick scenario. It's a pretty good football team. Well, this is a decent football team.
Right.
This is not the Carolina Panthers. This is a decent team. So, in my mind, I think you have to look at this logically, and you can answer this question. Do you believe at any point in time Justin Fields is going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL?
I think it's very possible.
Okay.
You see flashes at times. It's a bad team, Chicago. That's the thing. He has no weapons. He has one.
They're fair. They're decent.
Okay, when I'm saying, okay, so let me phrase that. No weapons to throw to. You take him off that team, they're what, a 2-win team. They're Carolina.
Fair. That's fair.
So
okay. Now you have to weigh the options. Let's look at the draft. Is Caleb Williams a surefire top 10 quarterback?
The optics say yes. His upside, I feel like his upside is higher than Justin Fields.
Then you make the deal. And the reason you make the deal,
that's my point. Yeah.
Then you make the deal. And we don't really need to go down the list. We don't need to talk about Jaden Daniels. We don't need to talk about Drake May because it's irrelevant to the conversation if Chicago keeps the number 1 pick.
Right.
It's irrelevant to the conversation. Now, here's another scenario that I think is fascinating. If you fall in love with 2 of these quarterbacks, if you fall in love with Caleb Williams and you fall in love with Jaden Daniels and you fall in love with Drake May, like combination, you have the ability to move back in this draft to number 2. And I don't believe for a second that Washington would not be interested in moving up and getting their guy. If you fall in love with 2 of these, you're seeing a team that's not the worst in the NFL, that has a decent quarterback situation, able to move back and still get their guy at number 2. That is fascinating to me.
There's a lot of options too, because you know for a fact, though, those top 3 teams are going to probably take quarterback. Passing a quarterback, Washington quarterback. So Drake May, James Daniels, I don't know why I'm shocked by this. I am shocked he's in all the mocks in the top 3.
Yeah, okay, I was at one time as well. But let me throw something out there that maybe will help you believe it a little bit more. If you look at his 5-year trajectory in college football, he has gotten increasingly better year by year. And I'm trying to think of some quarterbacks that I've seen do that. You just look at the production level, look at the efficiency level. It's climbing every single season. Jaden Daniels' production rate has climbed. You know who else did that? And I'm not comparing him to this guy, but I'm just saying this is factual. You know who else did that? Joe Burrow did that.
It's true.
And so I think that there is, you can't ignore that fact. I thought the same thing. Jaden Daniels, top 3, there's no way.
Good quarterback, but not top 3, though.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. But you can't ignore the fact that he has literally gotten better every single season he played college football.
Right.
That accounts for something. Could you say that about Trevor Lawrence? I don't think you could say that about Trevor Lawrence.
I'll be honest, I think it's a disappointment as a pro.
Sure, but if you go back to his career at Clemson, did he get monumentally, progressively better throughout the course of his college career?
He was the same guy, pretty much.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think he got worse, but it was the same guy.
No, he didn't get worse, but Jaden Daniels is getting better.
Right.
And it's a simplistic approach. I understand it's a simplistic approach.
And also Trevor Lawrence also played on really, 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 really good teams too on top of that. So it's almost hard to.
Daniels did not, right? He did not.
To your point, right? Exactly. So yeah, I'm with you on that one, definitely. But yeah, I think that you agree with me. The Bears should just keep the pick and trade Fields and trade Atlanta.
I would. Yeah,
Atlanta's perfect for him.
Yeah, I would.
I agree. College basketball. Caitlin Clark. This girl's unbelievable. She just passed the Division I record for all-time scoring in both men's and women's basketball. Unbelievable. And she already said she's declaring to go to the WNBA draft. Is she the savior? The WNBA? Because you're seeing the I'll say based on where I'm sitting at, there are more people I talk to that are more interested in women's basketball this year than men's right now. This year.
Well,
because of her.
Sure. But for as fantastic as she is, and I mean, anyone that's averaging 30, almost 33 points a game, right?
Jesus, it's crazy.
It's phenomenal what she's doing. She's going to be the face of the WNBA. But I also believe, well, let's go back and we look at the numbers. If I'm not mistaken, and you may have these numbers, the WNBA was losing on average of $10 million a year up until about 2018. From that point on, they've actually started generating. Some of the teams are actually they become profitable now.
Right.
It's not the same WNBA today that it was 10 years ago. It's not even remotely close. Viewership is up, but when you look at I got the numbers right here. I got the viewing numbers right here, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at the viewership numbers. So far this last season, average WNBA game brought in 500,000 viewers. Last season, Iowa, when they played March Madness, that game against Louisville sustained viewership of about 2.5 million.
Oh.
Okay, that's impressive.
And sustained, that's a key word.
It sustained it. Regular season game this year is bringing close to 2 million views. Now, the only thing that I would say that would work against Caitlin Clark saving the WNBA, I don't think that the WNBA needs to be saved. I think the WNBA is working, it's becoming relevant in mainstream sports, and I think the numbers prove that. The fact that they're no longer bleeding, I think they bring in like $200 million in revenue. That was not the case 10 years ago. So it's elevating the game. But Sabrina was pretty special when she was in college.
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow Sabrina in the WNBA?
I don't know. Not regularly. No offense.
Brittany Griner was pretty special when she was in college. Have you followed Brittany Griner outside of the whole Russia deal? Did you follow her in the WNBA?
But I feel like this is a little different because Caitlin Clark's game is also aesthetically fun to watch.
Oh, Sabrina, though.
Right, but I think there's more noise around Caitlin Clark now.
There is.
Than I've ever heard of any female. Honestly, you're gonna call me crazy. The last female I remember getting this kind of love, and it's funny, I wasn't even old enough to really appreciate it at the time. And granted, it wasn't even so much WNBA even existing at the time. Was Cheryl Miller, the last female athlete I saw get this kind of like massive mainstream pop in this way was Cheryl Miller, and that's like 35 plus years ago. I mean, you had Rebecca Lobos and all those women through the years, but they never, once they got to the next level, it just never really translated outside the WNBA bubble.
And that's what we've got to see if that happens with Caitlin Clark. I don't know that it's not going to be bad for the WNBA. But
no, it's certainly not. Certainly help it.
Right. But saving, I mean, I'm a Notre Dame fan. I love Skylar Diggins.
Mm-hmm.
And I still watch Skylar Diggins play in the WNBA, but EJ, I watch the WNBA.
Right.
Okay? I watch it. So
I mean, I follow it, but I don't necessarily watch it like tedious like I do the NBA and everybody else.
Of course.
Right.
But I just don't know that Caitlin Clark's going to bring sustained viewership over the course of 4 to 5 years in the WNBA. That's the next question. Diana Taurasi was incredible at UConn.
Mm-hmm.
Candace Parker was incredible at Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Different
realm, different era. The WNBA is getting better and better. We're looking at viewership now, like I said, of 500,000 games. But this is the one thing that you can point to. If you say, yes, Caitlin Clark's going to be the savior. The fact that when you look at a regular season college games quadrupling the viewership of a WNBA game, that says something. Yeah.
I feel like this is definitely a shot here, though, because especially in an era where like networks they need more content anyway. Those are looking for new content, especially in sports. So this is where I think WNBA can really have a big shot to make this. Look, they're never going to be the NBA. The NBA is what it is. But I think she's probably the first person ever. I really feel like the WNBA can really be even more in the mainstream consciousness because of her name.
Yeah,
almost like Magic and Larry did in the 7980.
Well, the one thing I would say is when you look at what is next now in the WNBA, well, for one, who's going to be a rival? You got to have a rival.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do we have a rival for Caitlin Clark right now? No,
I don't think so.
No, that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Also, college is different than professional. In the NFL, you got to remember this. In the NFL, you love the shield. You love the teams.
Yeah.
Right. You can have a kid come from Southern Utah University, plays for the New York Giants. All of a sudden, you like that kid.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's the way that works.
Right.
There's a brand behind Caitlin right now in Iowa. And that brand does not necessarily exist at the next level.
Mm.
So does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. It makes perfect sense.
And so, the ball's in the WNBA's court. Okay. You have something special. What are you going to do with it now?
Yeah.
Ball's in their court.
Right. Speaking of college basketball, tournament, we're still a couple weeks away from the start of the tournament. You excited about it?
No.
Why?
March Madness?
Yeah.
The worst format to crown a champion in any sport.
Interesting.
It's the worst format ever.
Interesting. Why?
Well, let me look at the clock here. Okay, you're gonna hear here for a second. So, first off, conference tournaments are a joke.
That I agree with.
Okay, they're a joke. The main allure behind March Madness is gambling. People who will not watch a college basketball game all year long are going to fill out a bracket, and they're going to pick they'll pick a 10, knock off a 7. I called that. Yeah, you circled a team on a piece of paper. You did not. There was no hardcore analysis, X's and O's. This is why this team's going to win. People love the gambling aspect of it, okay? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But until the NCAA starts giving the automatic bids to the outright conference champions in college basketball, A, the regular season is somewhat meaningless, and B, the best 68 teams are not representing in the conference tournament.
Yeah.
That's my problem with March.
I see that. I see that argument there.
You got a 20-game season, EJ. You win that conference outright. Then you have to go to a single elimination tournament and win again. If you're a mid-major, you have to win again just to get elevated into the dance. It's nonsense. It's
stupid. No,
it is so dumb. It's a cash grab. That's what conference tournaments are. They're cash grabs. March Madness, to me, it is an example of the worst way to crown a champion, because you're taking 68 teams and they're not even the best 68. Some of these teams aren't even the best in their own conference, and you put them in the dance. Now, is it entertaining? Oh, it's entertaining. I'm not saying it's not entertaining, but I ask people to actually look at this aesthetically, look at this on paper and tell me, is this the right way to crown a champion? No, it's not. That's my problem with the NCAA tournament.
So do you watch it? Do you watch NIT?
I watch it all. I'm just saying.
Still watching it.
Yeah, I still watch it.
I'll say this one. As someone who used to be a massive college basketball guy back in the day, growing up, and who's now become more of a casual at best now, I love that first weekend. The first weekend's fun.
Everybody loves the first weekend, right? Everybody loves the first weekend.
Yeah, and then after that, I was like, okay, enough. I'm good.
Why do you love the first weekend?
Because there's so much games on, and there's so much excitement, and so much upsets, and this and that, and potential upsets, and that's all.
But then the newness wears off, right?
And it wears off pretty quickly after that first weekend. Yeah. By Sweet 16, I'm like, okay, I don't give a fuck anymore. I have it on the background. I'll have on a TV show next to me, whatever. Especially
if you're gambling and your bracket's broken.
Right. Which I don't necessarily ever do brackets, to be honest with you, because it's stupid for the same reason you just said. Like, I'm not. Okay, so this X team is great. How do I know that? I don't know. I'm just based on the number.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched the game this year.
It's at a neutral site. It's in a different time zone than a lot of these kids have ever played in. Mm-hmm. You're playing at a different time than you've ever played in. You can't tell me that there's not. I know for a fact, for as long as I've been around college and high school athletics, when you go to a tournament and a team plays at 9:00 in the morning, you see a completely different team.
And I tell you what, two things that's actually hurt my love of college basketball. Number one, obviously, I hate the one and done rule. I hate it. Either let them go out of high school or play three plus years and call it a day. because I like seeing my players grow. Like, even though I hated Duke's a kid, I watched Grant Hill play 4 years of college basketball, and of course Leitner played X amount of years in Shaq, and so those teams build or something for a couple of years. That was fun to me watching college basketball back then, because those teams you got familiar with those players and those teams for a couple of years. Watch them grow. You don't have that anymore. And then, to be honest with you, as a father and a husband, that that time's very limited as it is, I'm picking NBA and college basketball every night. I'm picking NBA all day. I'm an NBA diehard. Yeah. So the league pass will have my soul for 6 months. So that's why.
Yeah.
There you go. So, all right. 2 more things to get you out of here. First thing, this dropped today, because you're a big boxing guy.
Yeah, I love it.
Jake Paul and Mike Tyson in July on Netflix. Guys, you're on a YouTube page, by the way, watching it on YouTube. Man. Jordan's face is like, what the fuck? You're not excited about this, obviously.
No, not at all. But it's boxing's fault. These sideshow events, it's the sport of boxing's fault, because there's an appetite for boxing, but the best rarely fight the best. There's always malarkey surrounding the potential of a fight. There's massive malarkey once we get inside the ring, and there's just typically we've seen some black eyes and some dirtiness in the sport of judging, right? Boxing's done this to themselves. When someone tells me boxing's dead, boxing's not dead. People are paying to watch Jake Paul box, former UFC guys. Right. So boxing's not dead. There's an appetite for it. But the way the sport is constructed without a sanctioning body, a la the UFC, mainstream boxing is taking a hit. And those current stars in the sport who find this offensive, well, a lot of it is your fault. A lot of it is your promotion's fault. A lot of this is PBC's fault. A lot of this is Top Rank's fault. There's no sanctioning body, and you're not giving the boxing fans what they want. Plus, every fight that has somewhat of an interest to us now goes to pay-per-view. And a lot of people are having a very difficult time spending $50 to $60 to watch 2 middling guys who aren't even inside the top 10 of the Phantom pound-for-pound rankings. Boxing has done this to themselves.
And also, I guess, and in some degree, UFC has the same issue too. Also, right now today, lack of star power, I guess, too. Also, doesn't help.
There's lack of star power in boxing, but again, that's boxing's fault, because these guys have to become self-promotion.
Yeah.
Right. When you watch UFC, you're watching the brand. There's no brand in boxing. We don't have that.
There's no boxing league or boxing. Yeah, right. It's just random. It's just randomness.
And
have we ever had one though? I remember we had one, right? One point, right?
A sanctioning body? No,
yeah.
we've had the alphabet belts for as long as I've been alive.
Okay.
So no, but the best fought the best. And you know what else bothers me about boxing? And maybe some of this maybe falls on Mayweather. That guy was incredible in every aspect. He was incredible in the ring. He was incredible with sweet science. He was an incredible businessman. But protecting O's in boxing matters for some reason, when it didn't matter when boxing was in its golden age. Didn't matter.
Right.
All of a sudden it matters. I don't understand why the O's matter anymore. It doesn't matter in the UFC. It doesn't matter. Now there are guys headlining events that got 4 or 5 losses. It doesn't matter. So
Muhammad Ali is what, like 9, 8?
Well, a lot of them came towards the end of his career, but I mean, yeah, he got.
No one knows me differently though.
No, he got his jaw broken by Ken Norton. You know what I mean?
And people look at him as the greatest all time. But like, what are we doing here?
Evander Holyfield has double-digit losses.
Yeah, one of the greatest of all time.
So to me, boxing, in a sense, it. Now, will I watch this? Oh man.
Yes, you will. You will watch it. I will, because of Mike Tyson.
I was never a Tyson guy.
I was growing up. I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm and he's become a guy that I've truly learned to appreciate too. As I got older, he's turned his life around. He's
Yes,
he's a good dude. He's turned to a really good dude.
To me, the most overrated boxer in the history of the sport.
That's not surprising. I've heard people say that through the years. Because he had a height of powers. He was phenomenal, but that only lasted 5 years. Not even 5 years, 4 years.
It was phenomenal marketing. His height of power. When you take a look at his biggest matches, he did not win. He didn't win any of them.
The Holyfield match, of course, twice.
Lennox Lewis,
right?
Lost. Buster Douglas,
right?
Loss. Yeah, he beat Spinks. He beat Bruno. I mean, honestly, when you look back at the course, was he exciting? Yeah, one of the most exciting fighters in the history of the sport. That doesn't necessarily translate to being the greatest of the sport.
Right.
I'm also curious to see how he approaches this, because something tells me if he wants to, he could knock Jake Paul's head off his shoulders.
Right.
How does he approach it? Because remember the Tyson Roy Jones.
It was Roy Jones, right? 2 years ago, right?
Yeah. Tyson looked pretty good.
Yeah.
He looked pretty good. Roy Jones did not, but Tyson looked pretty good. So, yeah, all right, I'll watch.
You're going to watch it. Come on. It's on Netflix, too. It's on Netflix.
I'm going to watch.
The only question can be whether Netflix is charge extra for the fight. That's the only question.
I'm not paying for it.
No, the only way I'll say what we said earlier in the show. Like, if I get people to come over to the house to watch it and pay and help chip in, yeah, maybe I'll do it.
I still won't. I don't want to watch that with people. I don't want people to know.
I forgot. You're ornery. I forgot. You don't like to.
I'm an old man. I get home at night.
Jordan, how old are you now? I know you look like you're 18. How old are you now?
I'm almost 38 years old.
Jesus Christ.
That's not old.
Well, I'm 43, turning 44 in May.
That's not old.
I mean, I get it. Yeah.
But when you have kids, and you work all day, you get home.
Yep.
They wear you out, man.
Dude, trust me. I got 2 boys that are turning 11 and 7 next month. I'm right in the thick of it too. Right in the thick of it. Preteen now, and 6-7-year-olds still trying to fight for my attention and all this stuff. And Dad, I need this, I need that all the time. Like, oh my God, please, let me breathe a little bit.
I get it.
Yeah. One last thing got here. One last thing. It's been a nice pod today, man. Long one.
Yeah.
Longtime ESPN NFL journalist Chris Mortensen passed away, age 72. We knew he was sick for a while, but he's been on TV every so often, and even with that. Any thoughts on his passing and his impact?
Yeah, unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to talk or interview with Chris Mortensen, but I know a lot of people who have. And one of the things that continues to pop up when you talk about Chris Mortensen is how he always paid it forward. And I think that's a problem in today's media. You've been around long enough at various levels of media. So you know what I'm saying when I say it's a cutthroat industry. It's an industry where people are threatened by whoever is coming up behind them. They don't want to reach out. They don't want to inspire. They don't want to pay it forward. By all accounts, Chris Mortensen was a guy that paid it forward. And I think that in itself is a legacy, right? It doesn't matter what level you get to. If you know of someone younger than you who aspires to be in this field and be successful in this field, and you don't reach your hand out to help them because of fear of being threatened, fear of them being better than you, EJ,
losing a spot. Yeah,
I've seen it for years in this field. Chris Mortensen was never that guy, and because of that, you tip your hat to him. Right, that guy's a legend in this field, and I think he's legendary. He's a legendary analyst, a legendary personality, but he's a legendary person, and I don't think you can stress that enough.
Right. He had announced he had throat cancer in 2016, stage 4 throat cancer. He went past 8 years of diagnosis. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's very sad story on to hear. Losing him, he lost obviously John Clayton, I think a year ago, 2 years ago. I used to love John Clayton. Oh my, he was phenomenal. But yeah, sad story there. But Jordan, that was great.
Yeah, it was fun. It's always fun to join you. It's always fun to join you anytime. So
you want to plug the show? Want to plug anything you're doing media wise?
Yeah, we do a lot. We do a lot of things here at Castle Country Radio, Eastern Utah Broadcasting. Drive Time Sports. It's local, regional, national sports. Every day we're on 4 p.m., 107.3 FM, 750 a.m. You can get it with the Castle Country Radio app. You can get it online. I mean, it's everywhere. And that's basically it. I do enjoy jumping on and talking with you, though. I enjoy the content that you produce here.
Thank you.
It's great stuff. A lot of long nights in AM FM radio. You work a lot of long nights when you're prepping and you're preparing and you're getting things done. And so a lot of your content is in the background when I'm prepping at 1 o'clock.
Oh, nice.
So I appreciate the Huddle Up podcast as well. I appreciate all of you guys. It's great content. And for you to allow me to be a part of it. Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'll have you in a couple weeks. Obviously, we'll rotate this, so can't wait.
Doing it.
Right before the playoffs start.
Perfect.
So good job as always, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.